Cool. Hey guys, Devin here with Make Anything. How many of you remember this thing? This is a design mat for the 3D printing pen made by 3DMate. I used it in a past video where I made a fidget spinner with the 3D pen, something that would have been really hard to get balanced correctly without the accuracy that this mat provides. I was really impressed by this thing. It's made by really high quality silicone. It can handle any temperature that a 3D pen can reach, and it's got these perfectly sized grooves that help you make really accurate parts with the 3D pen. Now that this 3DMate is up on Kickstarter, I thought I would make another video demonstrating a little bit more of what this thing can do. Today's project is going to be a bit abstract and experimental. Well, basically, the idea is I want to make a sphere, but using only straight lines. Basically, I want to take the concept of voxels, which are 3D pixels, just cubes stacked together. And if those are small enough, they can kind of create a form that looks rounded and spherical. So yeah, might sound kind of weird, but in my head, it looks really cool. So hopefully I can make that a reality and you guys will understand why I'm doing this. Let's try it out. So to start off, I found this little voxel generating tool on some small website here. I'll link to that in the description. And basically it just takes these basic shapes and breaks them down into cubes or voxels. It's pretty cool. You can do a sphere, a dome, a cone, or even make your own little vase type shape using this Bezier curve. But today I'm going to stick with the sphere. I will change the resolution here from 8 cubed to 16 cubed so that I get a more spherical looking shape, but it's still not too crazy that it'll take way too long. I mean, it's gonna be a lot of work, but 16 seems like a reasonable number. So down here you basically get a blueprint for each layer. So here you can see it's a 2x2 square, and then we've got this next layer and another one, and you can see the layers underneath it as well. So it's pretty awesome how well it's broken down for you. I think this is normally used for like making things in Minecraft, but it's gonna do just great for what we want to do today. You can see I've got that website open in front of me for a constant reference, and now I'm going to load this pen up with some MatterHackers PLA to give me nice, clean, consistent lines. I'm just using this generic, super slim 3D pen. It does overheat every 15 minutes or so of continuous use, but it is really tiny, which is going to be helpful for creating these little complex shapes that I'm trying to do today. So, as you can see, I created my first layer, just this simple square. And after a few seconds, once it's hardened, I can pull that out and start drawing my next layer. I'm just following that blueprint from the website one layer at a time, and I'm also going to draw in the outline of the layer before it. That way I have a way of connecting the two together. You'll see what I mean a little further in. And I'll also draw 4 lines here to hold these two shapes together. Okay, so that's my second layer, and the idea is to stack these on top of each other with about a 1/4 inch in between each layer. So I tried to just fold over my 3DMate and kind of use that to separate the two layers, which works, but I found it easier to just use my fingers to hold the layers apart, and after you do a few lines between the two, it kind of holds itself in place. Alright, that seemed to work, so I'll go ahead and continue drawing out all the different layers. Remember, we've got 16 layers here, and each square on this mat is basically representing one of those squares on the guide that I'm following. So this is a bit time consuming, but it's really easy. It's just a matter of following instructions. This grid here actually has 20 squares in each direction, so I could have made my sphere 20 pixels wide, but I think this is pretty good for my experiment. Here you can kind of get a better view of how I'm just holding the two layers apart and drawing these really quick struts between the two layers. And after you've drawn just a couple of those, the layer will basically hold itself up, and you can go ahead and carefully add in all the different lines. Basically, I'm just connecting a line between the two layers at each corner of the shape. At first I was just doing one layer at a time and then adding it to this sphere, but eventually I ended up just doing all of the layers at once, and now I can just focus on welding them all together. Personally, I found that a little down, up, down line, just like that, is a good way to get a nice solid strut and it's not too much work. So that kind of became my routine for sticking these together. I also used my clippers here and there to clean up the strings. You can use scissors, of course, and we'll just skip to the end since this is pretty repetitive. Once I had my sphere, I used the clippers again to basically cut off some unnecessary struts, just to make it a little more minimal. And there we go. The result is this really cool looking wireframe sphere. And because it's so lightweight, it's actually really robust, and it also bounces really well, which was kind of surprising. I already think this looks pretty awesome, but since this project is all about experimentation, I decided to throw in some color. So I've got all these vibrant colors, also Matter Hackers PLA, and what I'm going to do now is use each color to draw on one side of this voxelized sphere. Since it is made out of cubes, there's actually 6 directions that all these faces are facing, unlike a sphere which faces in every direction. So the idea is that theoretically, if you look at this directly from one side, you'll only see one color, but as you turn it, you'll start seeing the different colors. This color changing idea was pretty much inspired by my chromatic vase that I showed off in my last video. Anyways, this is another time-consuming and repetitive process, so I think you get the idea. Let's skip right to the end. So here it is, my voxelized chameleon sphere. Sure enough, as you turn it around, it changes color, and it's a pretty cool effect. It actually looks even cooler when you see it from an angle, where you got all these colors kind of colliding into each other. As far as less abstract uses of this 3D mat, I think the geometric nature of it makes it really great for architectural style 3D pen drawings. So you can draw out panels like this, and because you're working off of this grid, it's really easy to make the sides the same length and put everything together. It's pretty cool. I've got this little house I'm building here, and it's totally improvised, so you don't really have to plan things out. It's really fun for just sticking things together. And I actually really like this little scrap I made. It was just me purging the colors between switching filaments, but I think it's a really interesting look that you get from this 3DMate, and you know, this might have some jewelry applications or something. Hey, it worked! I made a sphere using only straight lines, and it looks really cool. As you can see, I got that color effect working really well, so every different angle produces a different colored sphere. Yeah, I knew I was onto something with this kind of weird idea, but I feel like there's a lot of potential in here too. Besides spheres, you can make all kinds of different shapes using this same technique of kind of stacking up layers and making these little cube-like forms. I want to give a big thanks to Kaz for sending me that prototype of his 3DMate drawing mat, because I don't think I could have done this without it. If you want a fun and easy way to get more accurate 3D pen drawings, definitely check out the 3DMate Kickstarter, link in the description. I think it's a really fun product, and I recommend it if it's something that you think you would like. It works really well. How could I almost forget? 3DMate and I teamed up, so we're actually doing a giveaway today. Check out the description, and you could win the 3D mat as well as the 3D pen bundled together. So that's a pretty awesome little prize that you could win there. Make sure to check that out. Check out their Kickstarter. All right, that's it for today. I'm Devin. This is Make Anything. Don't forget to stay inspired and try some things that you don't know what the end result might look like, because you could be pleasantly surprised.